Hi, this is Ooh Ah Crochet, and my name is Amber, and I'm doing the 10 non-yarny things about me. Okay, so first off I have my love for the Wizard of Oz. So here is some of the stuff I have. It's a puzzle. In a couple sides of my room here, the puzzles are hanging up, and this is the puzzle. Oop, that's usually hanging behind me. So, and I've got all kinds of different things, bags and the McDonald's toys and different things. I grew up in a town called Aberdeen, South Dakota, and in there, Frank L. Baum used to actually live in that city before he moved to Kansas to write The Wizard of Oz. So we kind of use it as a niche, I guess. But there's a place called Storybook Land there that has the Land of Oz attached, and it's got all the houses for the different characters. I got the Yellow Brick Road and the Haunted Forest, the hot air balloons, all kinds of different places to see. Aberdeen's a really small town though, so if you're gonna go, it would be a huge trip to come to South Dakota. I'm not sure I would go there first. But as growing up as a kid, it was great, and it was free, so anybody could go there. And Storybook Land had all the characters, your Fable characters, Jack and Jill, and the giant beanstalk, and Cinderella, and all that kind of stuff. So I have loved Wizard of Oz basically for all of my life. I love the musical. I love Dorothy. I can do the Wicked Witch. I won't do it right now, but I can definitely do the Wicked Witch. Let's see. Next thing. I'm trying to decide what to tell you guys because I'm pretty new, so you don't know a lot about me, and I don't want to scare you. But music has been a huge, huge part of my life in so many different facets. When I was younger, when I was 5, just going to kindergarten, just learning songs, I learned She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain. Any mother knows when you learn that song, it can be a little annoying. Well, my grandpa was having a barn raising, and he invited a group called the Old Time Fiddlers there, and I had just learned this song, and guess what they were going to play? She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain, because it was an Old Time Fiddlers group. So I'm like, I can sing that song, and my grandpa's like, you can? I'm like, yeah, I can. And so this kind lady invited me up on stage, and at 5 years old, I got to sing for my grandpa's barn dance, which was super special to me. And the lady that invited me up was playing a basin, a wash bin basin with a big old string. And some of the people in the band were playing saws with a fiddle bow. And it was the most beautiful thing that I had ever heard, especially at 5 years old. I was later invited to go sing with them, and I sang songs like, besides She'll Be Coming Around, and I sang Delta Dawn because that was one of my mom and I's favorite songs at the time. And Mommy told me something a little girl should know, which, if you remember that song, is a Pebbles Bam Bam song where they're playing, Mommy told me something a little girl should know. It's all about the devil. I've learned to hate him so. But at the end of the song, it's like, so let the sun shine in, face it with a grin. Losers never win and winners never lose, so let the sun shine in. My voice is not great at all nowadays, but the gist of that is I used to sing when I was little, and it was very important to me. My grandpa, however, passed away when I was 8, and so that kind of went downhill because he was a huge supporter of that, and made sure my mom and dad took me to all the practices for the band and all that kind of stuff. It was rough. So, the next thing is one of my favorite movies besides The Wizard of Oz. I guess a horror movie, maybe? I don't even know if you call it a horror movie. But Poltergeist. Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3. Carol Ann. Caroline. I absolutely loved that as a teenager, as a child, as an adult. I have the 3 set DVD, um, and it breaks my heart that that little girl passed away. It really, really does. Um, Speaking of heartbreaks and TV, uh, I have heroes, I guess, and I'll lump them all as one. Um, Michael Landon, John Ritter, Patrick Swayze, Patrick Stewart, and Richard Dean Anderson. If you don't know who these people are, you will soon. Michael Landon, of course, it was Little House on the Prairie, Highway to Heaven. I watched those as kids and just fell in love with him as the man, and as Little House on the Prairie. I always thought of myself as a little Laura. Half Pint. Actually, my nickname is Half Pint with one of my other friends because her husband's 6'4" and I'm 5'4", and I'm tiny compared to him. So, but Michael Landon, when he passed away, I cried. I cried for days. I was upset. Same thing with John Ritter. John Ritter always made me laugh with Three's and Company. Like, how do you not laugh at that man? And then if you haven't seen his son looks just like him and acts just like him. Has a comedic timing just like him. Patrick Swayze is another one of those guys that just died too young. Yeah, that was hard. And anybody who's ever watched Ghost or Dirty Dancing, again, another musical, or a music show, I guess. You can tell what years I grew up in, right? Patrick Stewart. I like older men. I guess. Can you tell? But Patrick Stewart, when I was growing up, I was probably a teenager, high schooler, when that came out, The Next Generation, and I had a fascination with that man beyond belief. And I realized that he is old enough to be my grandpa, but I didn't care. I still don't care. And I am super excited that they are coming out with another Star Trek. Okay. Richard Dean Anderson. I watched a late night talk show, and at this point I can't tell you which talk. I want to say it was Johnny Carson, but don't quote me on that. He was on a late night talk show, and he was talking about how he played hockey in his backyard in Minnesota, naked. Oh, MacGyver naked in the backyard playing hockey? Hell yeah! But Richard Dean Anderson was in MacGyver, of course, as MacGyver, and in Stargate as one of the bigwigs there. Like, Stargate. Every single episode I watched. Every episode. I do watch the new episodes of MacGyver, but he's a little young for me. so I find it a little hard to do that. But, okay. So, that was my TV heroes. My TV shows or my TV fandoms are Charmed. Charmed was a huge thing in our house. My daughter and I have watched every episode probably 10, 20 times maybe. I can totally relate with those girls, and I could totally relate with, just the fighting and the bickering and the love and the family and all that kind of stuff, and how it always came back to family. And everybody likes a little witch and vampires and different kind of demons coming back at you. And then Supernatural. Supernatural is one of those things that Donnie and I will watch. My mom and dad have watched. Like I said in the last video, it's a huge, huge part of me, I guess. Vampire Diaries, the book before the TV. So when I was 14, 15 years old, I started reading Vampire Diaries. I did not like to read. I hated reading. I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't those type of person. My sister could outread me in a heartbeat. Like, she could have a book done in 4 or 5 hours. And it would take me 2 weeks to read that same book. My mom and dad are prolific readers. They will pick up a book and read it, read it, read it, read it. Yeah. If I had grown up with audiobooks, I would have been in. But I can't, I couldn't. So anyway, back to that. When I found the Vampire Diaries series, I read the whole series. I read the Secret Circle series. So L.J. Smith, for the author of those books back then, and back then those were 20 years old. And now the TV show comes out another 20 years later. So that just shows you, just because a book came out in whatever year, doesn't mean it won't become famous again or get rewatched or redone later in time, I guess. I'm not sure what number I'm on, but one of my favorite books besides the Vampire Diaries is Brian Lumley's Necroscope series. And that has a combination of time travel and vampires, and there's like 13 books there. So if you guys haven't read that one, that is a huge, huge book reading. Let's see. I have 5 kids, so this is going to be a longer one. I'm going to try to do this fast. My oldest daughter is from my first husband. Let's start there. So my first husband is Destry. My second husband was Dennis. And my current daddy of all 4 of my children, is Donnie. So Destry, Dennis, and Donnie. So I have a thing for D's, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So my first husband, Destry, was, I met him through a friend. And unfortunately, when Alea's dad was, or when Alea was 9 years old, he took his life. And I was left having to tell my daughter what happened and try to fix or mend those pieces. There's a lot of need for mental health help out there, and that there just isn't getting enough done. And that was 10 years ago that he did that. And I can't tell you whether suicide is a people say it's a selfish thing, and then they say it's not, and I am on the fence with that 100%. But from my side of the point, being a survivor of a suicide, I can tell you that it hurts more people on the end of it, on the back side of it, for the people that are taking care of the people that are left behind, or just trying to get through each day after with the people that are left behind. And I don't know how much of that makes sense, but yeah. My daughter, so skip ahead a few years, went in and out of trouble. She always thought she could fix it. Like she could have saved him. She could have fixed it. She could have done whatever. Even though at 9 years old, there is no way that little girl would have been able to help in any way. I was remarried at the time, and her father, her dad, or I call her dad, is Dennis. We both tried to help her and do things. Dennis is actually an alcohol and rehab therapist. He's got his master's degree and PhD now. Very intelligent, and tried to figure her out too, and we both struggled. Alea had attempted suicide 4 times, and like I said, we tried to help her. We tried to do it at home. We tried to do it between the 2 of us, co-parenting in different houses. She had the love of 4 different families because of all the different, hers, mine, his, ours, everybody trying to tell her that she was loved, that she was cared for, that, all this stuff was there for her. We were there to help. And nothing we said Not anything we said seemed to sit in. So she ended up in a home to help youth for a year. She lost a year of her life. Not lost, a place to grow, I guess, and to learn and to reevaluate her decisions. That was hard on all of us. So that's a little bit about that. Okay. My second husband was Dennis, and he was a great guy. He adopted a daughter that wasn't his before I had met him, so I knew he was a good guy going into it. Worked with veterans, and loved my daughter from the get-go, and he is her dad, and there's no doubt about that. And I don't really have anything bad to say about him. We're divorced, but that doesn't mean that he's not a good guy. And we were just roommates. You know, relationships take a turn, and that's the turn that ours took. But he's always been there for my daughter and still is to this day. But I met him when I was 23 years old, and I completely intended to have kids with him. It didn't work out. He didn't want any a couple years into our marriage, and that was really hard for any of those parents out there that ever wanted to have kids and then just couldn't for whatever reason, for life obstacles, for not being for fertility issues. That was a really hard, dark, almost 8 years for me, not being able to have a Leia and then have a Leia have a siblings. Yeah, that was rough. I was not happy in my life. But Dennis' family had a lot of alcoholism, and so even to this day I understand why he didn't want kids. And then the fact that he was 13 years older than me may have made a difference. So, yeah. So then I met Donnie, and Donnie has also been divorced twice, and has 2 kids, and brought adopted one from Germany. And so there's mine, and now ours. But Donnie and I met at a karaoke bar. We were both introduced by a friend of ours. The friend was 40 years my senior. His name was Dutch. Did you get the D theme? Anyway, Dutch introduced us, and I had gone up there and sang Crazy, and he went up there and sang Conway Twitty's It's Only Make Believe. So Crazy is by Loretta Lynn, and Conway Twitty sang It's Only Make Believe, which is old country, right? Old country. So he came up and talked to me and was just joking around. He says, Crazy comes out in the curl. And at the time I had my hair down, and it was super curly. I have naturally curly hair. I had curls coming everywhere. So that was kind of his pickup line, and we've been together pretty much ever since. So 7 years later, we have 4 kids. Yeah. But we love music. We have music time in our house. We have the Pandora on, and the kids all dance to music. It's something that connects us. So that's pretty important to us. I once was in, how do I say that? I was in the DAV auxiliary, and I did end up making my way up to being the commander of the city I'm in and in the state of South Dakota. I was the commander for the DAV auxiliary for 2 years, which meant I got to travel and do different things for that, go to each of the different auxiliary groups, and so that was an experience. And I was young at the time, and traveling all over the state of South Dakota and meeting all these veterans and meeting their wives and seeing the lack of support that they had, the lack of volunteers, and all of these ladies were old, And I don't mean like, okay, 40 is old. I'm going to be 40 in July. But like old, like 70 years old, 70 and 80, and they were still volunteering and helping all of the guys with their stuff and doing everything that needed to be done. And then unfortunately, a lot of them passed away. And so many of them had passed away or gotten sick that we had to disband our group here, which was really sad. And of course, my life changed at the time, and kids, and I couldn't volunteer as much as I used to either. So that was one part. If you have a chance to help volunteer for veterans, they appreciate it, and I know they definitely need the help, especially from younger people. Let's see. I love the Green Bay Packers. Ta-da! I love the Packers, and I've been a Packers fan since Favre was there, number 4, and he's been a huge, we have fought many, many times. Dennis liked the Vikings, and Donnie likes the 49ers, or did like the 49ers. He's a little upset with them right now. But it was always a pick on each other, whenever they were playing each other, or whenever they would lose, or and we call the Packers in my family the heart attack kids. They are always the last minute on your seat, watching the game. Are they going to make it? Are they going to do it? Is it going to go through? I don't know how many times we swear on football day. My kids know that it's football day because mommy's yelling at the TV. Yeah, and there's a meme out there that says, if the house is shaking or if you hear yelling on Sunday, that it's just football, don't worry about it. And that's very much true for our family. Let's see. I'm not really sure where I'm at. I like salty versus sweets. I would rather have a batch of party mix than a candy bar. Yeah, so salty versus sweet. And I am definitely a coffee drinker. And Diet Coke, I guess, is where I'm at with that one. Let's see. I don't know what number I'm on, so I apologize. I've had gray hair since I was 16 years old. I went, the night before I went to go do my ACT test, I was looking in the mirror and found 4 gray hairs, which wouldn't be a big thing, except for they were already this long. I cried a little bit. And my mom was completely gray by the time she was 40. Her hairdresser told her not to dye her hair anymore. And I turned 40 in July, and there's plenty of gray going on. And I dye my hair, but there's still gray everywhere. So, okay, last thing. I donated plasma to get some money to go play bingo. And I passed out right after I gave plasma. I got out the door and was so proud of myself. I had done it the second time, and was super proud of myself that I actually did it with the big needles and scary. And as soon as I got outside the door, I fell flat on my face, literally flat on my face, and broke my tooth, which they paid for. However, my crown broke a couple of years ago, and they replaced it with a temporary, and then it broke again. And so now I'm waiting to have enough money to buy a new crown. So, my special tooth here. Really annoying, but, yeah. So anyway, if you ever wonder, that's how I did that. Trying to earn some money. Whoops. Anyway, alright. I would like to tag. I haven't seen any videos by these guys, so we'll see. Lisa and Amanda from Happy to Hook. Valerie from Old Soul Crochet, and she just came out with her alpaca pattern. If you haven't seen it, you should look at it. Kendra with Happy to Hook Hooked by Happenstance. Oh my goodness. And Katrina with Katrina Creations, the Crochet Katrina. Hannah with the Cozy Cottage. And Claudia with Crochet Luna. I haven't seen any of those videos when I realize you guys are probably super busy. Busy. So, anyway. Hopefully... Everybody that's done these videos has talked about being an introvert and, or a hermit. I'm pretty much a hermit. I sit at home with 4 kids and go nowhere and talk to nobody and talk to no adults. And so, yeah, I stumble over my words all day long and every day. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to hear from those people that I tagged, and if not, that's okay too. I understand. Life is busy. Thanks again for watching. If you like this, hit the like button. Or if you don't, it's okay too. Alright, take care.